We welcome you to the ACC at ESPN and from Cameron Indoor. Today, on the last day of 2022, the ACC really gets cooking. Number 17 Duke taking on the FSU Seminoles. Duke with a lineup change as they face an Noles program that has been pretty thorny against them in past years. Dave O'Brien alongside a former Virginia star, Corey Alexander. We say Happy New Year. Great to see a partner. And that lineup change is Jalen Blake's in the lineup, the sophomore, for the first time in his career as a starter for Duke against an FSU team really trying to right their ship, aren't they?
They absolutely are, trying to right it with youth. And, of course, they have the reigning ACC Rookie of the Week, Cam Corrin, who had 18 points, 7 rebounds versus Notre Dame, their only game last week. And when you think about Rookies of the Week, you always have to think about the guy who won it 4 consecutive weeks to start this season, Kyle Filipowski, who has been spectacular for Duke. However, his first single-digit game of the year coming in their loss at Wake Forest earlier. So Filipowski trying to get back to his double-figure scoring and possibly double-figure rebounding ways.
Up against FSU and Leonard Hamilton. This would be a momentous victory for the 74-year-old Hamilton. Should have come today. It would be his 400th at FSU and his 600th all-time.
And when you think about Leonard Hamilton, you think about pressure defense, you think about energy, execution, and having 10 to 12 guys available. This Florida State team may not have that, so they're going to have to rely on 5 guys to get the job done against the Blue Devils.
Jon Scheyer in year number 1 at the helm of the Duke Blue Devils, 35 years old. That's as long as Leonard Hamilton has been a head coach.
And Jon Scheyer, who has played every role in a Duke uniform. He's not played, he's been a starter, been a best player, and he's come off the bench. So he's the perfect guy to be able to talk to Jalen Blake's about coming off the bench.
Duke at 10-3, FSU at 4-10 after a really ugly start, but playing better lately. They've won 3 of their last 4 games, and Duke will get that first crack at it here today. Top for Lively, the 7-1 freshman, and quickly they give it right back to Caleb Mills. On the baseline, watch Matthew Cleveland, number 35, as he goes. That's how Seminoles go.
Yeah, he's been their best player, especially over the past 4 games where he's been putting up double-double numbers.
Worley with an air ball, and he's going to hear that from the crowd. Even though the students are not here, he's still going to hear it.
And it's still Cameron Indoor Stadium. There's something about this building. You're talking about a guy who was 2 for 2 in his last time out from three-point range, shooting an air ball in the first possession.
Well, Duke, of course, had that absolutely grueling November, but this is just their second game in 3 weeks, so you wonder how sharp are they going to be against FSU.
Yeah, and you also have to think about the fact that Derek Lively, who's in the starting lineup, and Dariq Whitehead, both those guys did not play their last time out, so getting them acclimated after 20 days off.
Worley, the talented sophomore, nearly gave that one away. FSU 4-10 as mentioned. Ugly start really doesn't cut it for FSU. They began the season with 4 consecutive losses to Stetson, UCF, Troy, and Florida. Made some shockers in there.
Yeah, absolutely some shockers in there, especially when you consider the dominance that Leonard Hamilton has had over the state of Florida throughout his tenure at Florida State.
Way downtown, a misfire by Blakes, but right back out for Roach. A little fired up and miss. So kind of a chilly opening 90 seconds here for the Duke Blue Devils.
No, B, this is not a great shooting Duke team. They hang their hat on their defense and rebounding. But the longer this game goes along and they allow Florida State to stay in it, Florida State will build more and more confidence down the stretch.
Florida State with a quick strike there on the backdoor.
And you get your best player, Matthew Cleveland, an easy one early, and that can open things up for him as this game goes along.
Matthew, a candidate for the Julius Erving Small Forward Award. I asked him about that, and he's delighted. That one's going to be blocked out of the sky by Lively. Oh my, what a play.
A big-time block by Lively, and also a smart play by Kyle Filipowski to throw the basketball off of Cleveland, who's laying out of bounds to maintain possession or retain possession for the Blue Devils. But you're talking about high-level block from Derek Lively.
Yeah, his 23rd leads the team. incredibly talented youngster named the preseason ACC Rookie of the Year. Really hasn't played up to that yet. 4 points, about 4 rebounds a game, but the blocks have been there.
But his ceiling is so high, and a lot of it has to do with his defensive ability. He's one of those guys, you see him covering up the rim, can also shoot the three and finish around the basket.
Shot clock winding down, off the window, up and in, breaks. Career best 17 off the bench in the loss to Wake Forest.
And you can see he's playing with a lot of confidence coming into this game after having a career performance.
Did you like the lineup switch?
I do like the lineup switch simply because you're getting leadership as well as defensive ability into the starting lineup. Going up against Florida State, and they like to put pressure on you. You have the other ball handler in Blakes, who really was the backup point guard. So now Jon Scheyer starting the 2 point guards in his lineup, similar to the way he and Nolan Smith did it back then.
Lively, by the way, with a foul. The 17 against Wake, that's all well and good. 6 out of 7. They lost that game. But what Scheyer really likes is what he brings energy-wise to the team. As you say, defense, defense, defense. That's one thing that Duke has done all season long. They play defense.
They play defense, and Blakes is a competitor. He wasn't one of the 5-star guys being offered a scholarship to come to Duke. He's one of the guys who's had to earn his way onto the floor, and he's done that by defending.
And a spark plug off the bench. Now they'll see if that is also true in the starting lineup. Roach will give it up here, and Blake's looking inside. Mitchell back out. Blake's will launch. Got it. A triple on the money.
Doesn't hurt the fact that he's been knocking down the 3 ball as well, and that's where Duke has struggled this season.
Yeah, he's been reliable. He's been one Duke player who has been 37% outside the 3. Goes on the drive, a wild play there, and an offensive foul. He'll get hit with a charge.
And Jeremy Rose got in great position, but early enough to where Caleb Mills really could have kicked that one, but Mills decided to see if he could get the bucket. Great job by Jeremy Rose getting his feet outside of the restricted arc, absorbing the contact and taking the charge.
FSU, of course, last year decimated by injuries. Still managed to beat top 25 Duke last year in overtime in Tallahassee. Duke got their revenge here at Cameron Indoor. Blake's nice handle. Going to be tipped out, but right back to FSU, and on the move comes Worley. Cross court. Darren Green, who can really shoot it, drains that one.
You put that on the money, partner. He can really shoot the basketball, shooting 41% from 3. Second in the ACC. That time stepping inside the line, knowing that the Blue Devils was going to run him off the 3-point line.
He can be really explosive at 30 against St. John's. 5-4 Duke from the corner. The jumper on the way, in and out by Roach. He scuffled from 3-point land like so many Blue Devils have. 33%. He's had an up-and-down start to his year. Green way downtown. That's like a layup for him.
It absolutely is. And when you consider the fact that you give him the space, Duke guarding him with a much taller defender in Mark Mitchell, with Mitchell with his hands down, and you know what Mark Jackson says, hands down, man down.
Pull up by Roach, and a little too strong. Batted around. Duke will get a second effort. Mitchell inside will draw the foul. With 15:15 to go here in the first half.
You see Darren Green stepping up from way downtown, knocking it down as the Noles have a 2-point lead in Canton.
Now Mark Mitchell, the McDonald's All-American out of Kansas City, Kansas, going to the rack a moment ago and had some punishment.
And swiping at the basketball, Corn gets him right across the face and forcing to see Mitchell back on the floor. Those are the ones that can hang around for a while, especially if they catch you in the eye. You see Mitchell still trying to shake it off, but staying in the game.
That's when about a week later you see a guy wearing goggles.
Yes.
With very good reason. For you to ever happen, do you ever like break your nose?
Not that it was diagnosed. I think I did break it a couple times.
Going through it, huh?
But you know, and of course, back in the day, as I sound super old saying that, many of your injuries, you would just go to your trainer and say, my nose is killing me. And then, yeah, you probably took one. But I don't think we had like masks And they were goggles then, but I wasn't going to wear goggles.
Right.
I'm not going to mess up the moneymaker. Over, you know how this goes.
Oh, I believe me. I mean, America would weep if anything comes between you and the moneymaker. FSU by 2. Foul moment ago on Darren Green of FSU. Battling in close, and that's a strong move by Ryan Young.
Ryan Young has been a blessing for the Blue Devils. One rebound away from a double-double against Wake Forest, but he has been spectacular for them off the bench when Lively's not available, and then, of course, stepping to the starting lineup at times where Lively isn't there.
He's been excellent on the glass, particularly the offensive glass, where Duke's been real good. Shot clock down to 5. Cleveland has it knocked away, a loose ball. Worley got it, and at the heave it here, Green gets it off, but short. Shot clock violation. It goes back over to the Blue Devils, some tight D.
It really was, and Jeremy Roach getting on the floor after the basketball. Just the hustle in itself put Florida State in a tough predicament when they got the basketball back. Not much time available on the shot clock.
Duke with that loss against Wake Forest, 81-70 on December 20. This is their first game since then. Their other losses besides that came to Kansas and Purdue, who both look like Final Four teams right now.
They absolutely do. Purdue is probably the best team I've seen this season live. And when you consider they were able to knock off the Blue Devils in Portland at the PK 85.
Batted away. Proctor may think better of going to the lane like that again. And in the game, a guy they've really needed for FSU, Naheem McLeod, a 7'4" junior. He has been out because of an Achilles injury. They're just getting him back for the first time in many weeks.
Yeah, it hasn't been much of a consistent lineup at all for the Noles.
Roach off target. Young with a big offensive rebound. That really is his bailiwick. Look at him work for 2 more.
Ryan Young had 8 offensive rebounds versus Oregon State, and he's off to a great start. 2 already here early in this game.
Cleveland in the paint. Another effort by McLeod. They're going to get 3 cracks at it. Cleveland driving hard. Left that one short. And what's the call here? That's going to go the other way. 9-7 Blue Devils.
Duke is second nationally in offensive rebounding percentage, and Ryan Young is a strong part of why. You think about the opportunity to pick up second chance points, which bolsters this Duke offense each and every opportunity.
Duke trying to pick up their 11th win of the season. Right now ranked number 17. Blake's getting into the starting lineup. Gives it up for Mitchell. Tiptoeing through that lane. They'll swing it. Here's Whitehead's shot. Well, he got an excellent look. Another offensive board by Young. Here's Proctor. Well, they're getting good opportunities.
Well, I mean, one of the goals in the game of basketball is to get more shots than the opponent. When you've got a guy like Ryan Young getting the job done with offensive glass like that, oftentimes you're going to win that battle.
Worley to the baseline. Sealed. Got it for Jackson. He can't stick it. Young with another rebound. He's had a bunch of those since coming in. Duke coming off a grueling November, but they haven't played all that much here in the last few weeks. Downstairs, Young again, and he'll take the hit. He'll be at the foul line to shoot 2.
And one of the things that has to happen when you play against Florida State, they're going to switch 1 through 5. You have to find a way to be able to attack those mismatches as we look at the Blue Devils, who played 12 games between November 7th to start the season and December 10th, which was more than anyone in the country. Since then, they've gotten quite a significant break. Only it's the second game in 20 days for the Blue Devils.
McLeod with the foul to put Young at the line, and John Shire said it's felt like 2 completely different seasons. The way they started, and against that caliber of schedule that you were talking about, I mean, big-time opponents who are going to probably go very deep in the NCAA tournament, and then it's felt like nothing since then.
Absolutely. You mentioned it. They've already played Kansas and Purdue, 2 Final Four contending teams this year. Also mentioned the Ohio State win here on their home court. So, you know, the Blue Devils have definitely been tested early.
Bill's trying to bust a drought, and he does. They had not scored in over 3 minutes. and had been 0 for their previous 5. They needed that one. So far, it has not been the kind of Duke team that Coach K had year after year after year that could really bust away from you like on a 22-4 run. Here comes Mills again going up high.
That's what you cannot do against Florida State. You cannot turn the basketball over and allow Florida State to get out in the transition because they are dangerous with the full head of steam.
Young zips it here for Blakes. He'll take the lane. Blake straight on. Got it. With a 3.
You're talking about a young man that put the work in during the offseason to work on that jumper. Jalen Blakes was not this type of shooter a year ago, but you can see he has the confidence in the work he's put in.
I mean, lately he's been one of their very best offensive players with that shot developing, as you mentioned. The work paying off. Mills again, and he'll draw the foul. Taylor Mills getting very active, the junior from Arden, North Carolina. One of several North Carolina natives on the FSU side. Well, Corey, so far Jalen Blakes and Ryan Young have been the Duke offense.
They absolutely have done all the damage. No one else for the Blue Devils has made a field goal in this game. You think about Blakes, who's starting his first game for Duke, and then Young coming off the bench, grabbing offensive rebounds. 14 points combined, 5 for 7 for those two guys who have been the story for the Blue Devils. And those two guys actually lead Florida State right now, 14-11.
So it'll be Mills at the line. Both of these teams are good foul shooting teams. FSU 73%, Duke even better at 78%.
And free throws were the factor in both their games. It was Florida State who attempted more, who made more free throws than Notre Dame attempted. And it was the Blue Devils who lost at Wake Forest due to their lack of ability to get to the free throw line in that game.
And Wake Forest just kept going back and making all theirs. They made them all day. Filipowski trying to get it in. He's been very quiet so far. Came in averaging 14 points, about 9 rebounds a game.
You know, one of the things we talked to Leonard Hamilton pregame, and he ran down a list of Duke big-time players that they played against who didn't get their numbers against Florida State.
Beautiful play. Whitehead will lay it in as he slashed into the paint.
Nice cut there by Dariq Whitehead, but of course Leonard Hamilton went back to Jahlil Okafor, you know, the stud ACC Player of the Year that he was, and then you go back to Sheldon Williams and so many different guys who didn't get their touches playing against Florida State simply because they front everything on the post, make it difficult on the perimeter to throw the ball inside.
That's going to be a walk by Matthew Cleveland, traveling violation, so back to Duke it goes, on top by 3.
You know, one of the areas that you can beat Florida State when they go to double team is finding that open area, attacking the basket. Nice find as Dariq Whitehead cuts right to the rim.
Filipowski dumping it down for Young and tipped out by FSU. And you mentioned Leonard Hamilton. Leonard's had a great career. He belongs in the Hall of Fame. And this would be a momentous victory, as we mentioned, for him. He was the first black coach in the history of the Southeastern Conference as an assistant at Kentucky.
He was that. He's also taken over so many programs that he's taken jobs that no one else wanted. As Jeremy Roach knocks down the first 3 balls for the Blue Devils. But when you think about that, he's taken over Oklahoma State when they were in disarray, Miami when they were just getting their program back, and Florida State when they were struggling significantly, and built each and every program into a winner.
Young fouled by House. They are determined to get it in to Young in our first Super Tuesday college basketball matchup of the new year. It should be a great one. KJ Williams and LSU, they're 12-1, coming off an upset of number 9 Arkansas. Wednesday night, they square off against Mr. Double-Double, Oscar Tshiebwe, number 19 Kentucky at Rupp Arena. SEC Showdown beginning at 8 Eastern, 7 Central on ESPN. And a whistle stops the clock at 9:52 here in the first. And Duke trying to get a little momentum, up by 6. And that'll be Whitehead to the line. FSU's personal on Cam Corrin, the big freshman. Whitehead, 6'7" freshman from New Jersey. The number 2 ranked incoming freshman in Florida High School Gatorade Player of the Year. So far, up and down.
Whitehead missed the majority of the preseason with a foot injury. Got back into things a little late. But he's one of the guys who Jon Scheyer told us could end up being a starter before this season ends. Just got to continue to, fight through the learning curve that has been being a freshman in high major college basketball.
A world of talent, no question about that. Very gifted player. Duke on a 7-0 run. I wonder if some of these guys coming in now, because they're not maybe of the caliber of some of the players that Coach K had who came in as freshmen, walking violation here, who were ready-made. They were pros when they showed up.
That has been the case, for a very long time. But they also had veterans on their roster to go alongside them, and that's really what there aren't a lot of veterans left on this Duke roster to be able to show these guys the way, and even those who are haven't been veterans in this Duke program.
Young with another offensive board, trying to go in strong, plucked away by Mills, but on the baseline, so Duke will have it. FSU, a team that is getting out rebounded so far this season. That's rare for a Leonard Hamilton team. We'll take the break. Duke on top, 21-13 over the Noles. Well, FSU has to come here to Cameron Indoor without some key guys, including the guy they've lost for the year, Cameron Fletcher. Double-figure scorer. He was the top rebounder at the time. He suffered a knee injury.
Yeah, late in the Virginia game, went up, got a rebound, and came down awkwardly. And was doing that game and looked ugly from the beginning. Sorry to see Cam out for the remainder of the season, but he's a high-character young man who will bounce back strong for sure.
Cleveland fouled on the drive, hit by Blakes, who will pick up number 1. 9 minutes to go. As mentioned, the students are not here, obviously, during the Christmas break. That doesn't mean the student section isn't completely packed. That is always the case.
These are the more seasoned Cameron crazies. This is actually what you get during Christmas break when they have the opportunity to purchase tickets and be a part of the student section.
I think that's very nicely said. Seasoned from the corner Green. That is Dante Green, the 6'10" freshman. There's no question about that. This is an older look than we're used to. The veterans, but they're coming from all over the country because they finally get a chance to buy tickets in this building and in this section with the students gone, at least for a little while. There was a couple that Jon Scheyer met in a shoot-around today. Came all the way from London.
Yeah, this is a bucket list item for many basketball fans, many fans of course, Coach K and the Duke Blue Devil program.
Filipowski straight on with a miss. Mitchell will pick that one off, and they're dominating on the offensive glass. And Blakes will be the beneficiary. His first start, he's liking it.
He absolutely is, and that's a little bit of a celebration right there. I'm not sure if that's a guitar, but he doesn't have the left hand up. He's just strumming the guitar with only a right hand. Must have a shoulder strap on.
Tickle on the twine. He has 11, and this is the biggest lead so far for Duke today. So the Seminoles need to locate a hot hand. Worley shoved and fouled. They'll stop the clock at 8:04. Jalen Worley came in averaging 5 points, 3 rebounds a game. Had a very strong game against Duke last year. Right here at Cameron Indoor with 15. Foul number 2 on Lively.
I believe that 15 for Worley here a year ago was a career high. So, normally when you play well in the building, you look forward to getting back there, but it hasn't been a great start for Worley thus far in this.
Green with a nice shot. Boy, he's got an array of shots that he can make.
He's a weapon for the Noles, absolutely. Is that can score at different levels, and you see his ability to attack off the bounce, even beating good defense.
Swing it around for Mitchell. Here's Roach from 15. Too strong. Cleveland with the rebound. Good rebounder, 7 a game. He wants to go coast to coast. Harassed and knocked away. 7:28 left in the half.
Jaden Blakes must know the notorious D.O.B. is on the call, and he's brought out all his special gifts.
to play.
Kev, Sean, thank you very much. Happy New Year to you guys. Do a tremendous job in the studio and at game sites as well. That's been a great start for UConn.
It has been a great start for UConn, and playing against a tough Xavier team. Duke knows all about Xavier. They actually knocked off Xavier in the PK 85 to get to the championship game, but a tough fought contest between the two teams. And Xavier continues to play better basketball as the season goes along.
Corley gets it in for Mills. Seminoles have had it in the hands of Darren Green quite a bit here in the first half. He'll miss that one, but he has 7, and he'll get a second chance.
See, Grandison came out with his hand up, making sure he didn't give Green a good look, knowing he can shoot it from way out there.
Shot clock down to 5. Mills got it. Three-pointer on the money for Caleb Mills.
Mills now 3 for 3 from the field. He's gotten off to a good offensive start. The stars for Florida State have shown up. They just haven't had any help from the supporting cast.
Proctor on the drive. Grandison into the ball game. And he'll drill that from three-point land.
And now the Blue Devils starting to get some production from their other guys. Grandison knocking down a 3. Other guys have gotten involved in the scoring action for the Blue Devils.
Grandison's a guy who can make his three-pointers too. 36%. Duke has been off target from three-point land this season so far, but they have a couple of guys who can stick it.
And Grandison, another one of those veterans, but not a veteran within the Duke program. A graduate transfer from Marquette.
Cleveland, shot clock to 2. Gave it away. Mills will have to launch. Back over to the Blue Devils.
Strong defensive stand by Duke on that possession. Now, does that count as a shot clock violation? I believe it does, right?
It does.
Okay.
And a turnover. 5 of those so far. Proctor, the 18-year-old, who's struggled to make his shots, just 24% beyond the three-point line. But again, wasn't even supposed to be here until next year, and he'll knock that one down.
But nothing better for Proctor than to get an easy one like that. Miscommunication on pick and roll coverage for Florida State there, leaving the guy with the basketball alone by himself.
Mitchell on Mills. Takes the paint, slashing inside. Boy, tough shot. Filipowski hasn't done a whole lot of scoring, but he's crashing the glass here. Mitchell back for Proctor. Blakes, he has been the man early on. Mitchell, again, got a really good open look. Could not knock it down, although he's 46%. From the three-point line. Doesn't take a whole lot of them, but he's made what he's taking.
Yeah, whenever you're shooting that high of a percentage, you got to find more shots. That's the way I look at it. Mitchell, you mentioned shooting great from beyond the three-point arc.
Here's Worley. So far, he's been very quiet. Green again, not this time. So about 4.5 to go, and Duke is looking for one of those patented Duke runs as they lead us 29-18. And a whistle. That will go against the Blue Devils. Filipowski off the basketball in our upcoming featured ESPN football lineup. Michigan taking on TCU, Georgia against Ohio State in the college football playoff semis today. Penn State and Utah squaring off in the granddaddy of them all on Monday. The Bills battle the Bengals in a big Monday Night Football game. And it's all on ABC, ESPN2, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN Plus. What a lineup there.
It absolutely is a strong lineup. And of course, much of America may already know that at one time you were the voice of the Dogs. So we know who you're rolling with today.
Well, there's no question. I think Georgia looking for a second consecutive national championship. 29-18 Duke. We'll take the break. More in a moment.
Well, Sean, you share you share my understanding with that. I know that you are a guy that protects the moneymaker.
Oh, he certainly does.
Oh, absolutely. We know Farnham is about his moneymaker. He has the hair right, everything. So
perfect.
He absolutely understands what I'm talking about there. I know he would not be a guy to put a mask on playing basketball.
No, sir. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it for everybody else, I think is always Sean's point of view.
Yes.
And America would agree. 29-18. Duke, as Sean mentioned, getting great production off the bench. That's usually the Seminoles.
And that is a normal Florida State style of play, to be able to win the points off the bench battle. But you mentioned right now, Sean said it at halftime, a 15-0 advantage for the Blue Devils. Right now, Florida State only has 18 points. So the bench for Duke has been hanging in there with Florida State's entire team, and specifically their starters, who only had 3 guys get involved in the scoring trial.
With injuries and youth, Leonard has not been able to play the style that he's been so successful playing. You know, he might get 10 guys into the game in the first 4 minutes.
Absolutely.
Typically.
And one of the things that he talked to us about pregame was the fact that he's used to guys playing 4.5-minute stretches. That's it. Then you bring in the next regime, and they play a 4-minute stretch. He talked about Trent Forrest, who's the winningest player in Florida State history. He asked Trent this summer. Now, Trent has played in the NBA, this, that, and other. He says, how many minutes do you think you could have played in our style and our pace the way that I wanted to play? Trent Forrest told him 24 minutes. That was the max. In a 40-minute game, he felt like he could play 24 minutes Florida State style. And that's saying a lot from a guy who won more games than you for him.
Young underneath. He's been a real target. And a big reason that Duke has this lead right now, 31-20.
And coming off the bench is a big reason why the Blue Devils have such an advantage in this game.
Cleveland gets started. Coming in at 14-7. A pull-up pop by Green. Yes, swishes it in. Boy, his shot-making ability is so true.
Yeah, Green doesn't need any plays run for him. Just put the basketball in his hands. He can go get one on his own.
And again, making threes, too, to the tune of 44% for FSU. They've needed all of it so far today. Young to the lane. Yes, that's a pretty shot off the window.
And I love the fact that Jon Scheyer recognizing what is working well for his team, making sure that Ryan Young continues to get his hands on the basketball because he's been productive.
Northwestern grad with 10. Basketball coming free for a moment, scooped up by Cleveland. Under 3 to go in the first half for Cameron Indoor. Cleveland from 17 feet, no. A disappointing loss to Wake Forest, even though they had a couple of players out. And Lively and Whitehead, they both ill, didn't make that trip. Young again. Man, what a story here in the first half for Duke.
He absolutely has been that. 12 points and 5 rebounds already for Ryan Young here in this first half of a game that he didn't even start.
Quiets the crowd with a triple from the corner.
Big bucket for Chandler Jackson in that corner. And Jackson's a guy that's not really getting a lot of practice time, dealing with injuries, so not on the court as much in practice. It's the first year trying to learn his way through this program.
Mr. Basketball in Tennessee's out of Memphis. Bredesen again, it's Young. The kick back out, Bredesen. Got a look and it rattles in from three-point land.
But even though Ryan Young is the hot guy, he didn't force an opportunity right there. Recognized the help was coming, got it right back to Grandison, who was able to knock down the 3 ball.
Very unselfish. Bills on Roach. That should be entertaining. On the bounce feed, Cleveland, tough catch, couldn't get it to go. Duke wants to run. Whitehead in the lane and lays it in. And look out, bit of a breakaway here for the Duke Blue Devils. We've seen that before.
Yeah, we've seen it a lot, and you're accustomed to seeing it from Duke when you come into this building. There's going to be a stretch where players start smacking the floor, and they lock in defensively.
And a pick by Whitehead. Trying to go all the way through, and a foul on the play, and he'll be at the line with 45 seconds before the break.
Defense leading the offense. Duke getting a stop. Dariq Whitehead with the Euro step. The finish with the left hand. And then coming up with a steal on the next possession to get him to the free throw line. And it's been the defense by the Blue Devils that have gotten them in great shape here in the second part of this first half.
Well, our first Super Tuesday college basketball matchup in the new year should be a really good one. KJ Williams, LSU, they're 12-1, coming off an upset of number 9 Arkansas Wednesday. They are taking on number 19 Kentucky at Rupp Arena. Coverage of the SEC Showdown begins 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central on ESPN and the app.
If I remember correctly, Kentucky coming off of a loss as well against 2 former Florida State assistant coaches, Coach Dennis Gates and Charlton Young.
Indeed.
Doing a great job at Mizzou.
That's going to be an offensive foul. McLeod setting the screen, but moving in the process. And so it'll be back to Duke. They have all the momentum, and they are revving up this crowd. 42-25. With 33.8 to go.
Florida State with 7 turnovers, only had 5 the entire game versus Notre Dame in their win at the top.
Roach to run some clock. About 4 seconds difference between a game and shot clock. Roach back outside. Grandison can't hit it. Rebounded by Mills, and on the line there. He's going to turn it right back over to Duke.
The 8th turnover of the half for Florida State gives Duke an opportunity to build onto this lead, to take it to 19, possibly even 20, headed into halftime.
So plenty of time for the Blue Devils to get off a really high-quality shot, 6.9, and on top 42-25.
And right now you want to see if you can get an opportunity to get the basketball back into Ryan Young's hand. He has been special here in this first half. No better way to end it for the Blue Devils.
Proctor trying to get it in. Whitehead, 5 seconds to go, and tipped out by FSU with 3.7.
Still more than enough time to get a quality look here. 3.7 seconds. Can still run one of your standard sideline out of bounds play.
Quickly, Grandison. And that's going to do it. That'll be the end of the first half. Big Mo certainly on Duke's side. They open up a 42-25 advantage on a 7-0 run in the final seconds. Young was a huge part of that first half success.
It absolutely was. Offensive rebounding has been at a premium for the Blue Devils as they take a 17-point lead into halftime.
55. Not that this one has gone to the Dogs quite yet, but Duke in great shape. 17-point lead as we get set for the second half. Ryan Young leading the way with 12 points in 11 minutes and 6 rebounds. That was quite a show, by the way. At halftime, had everybody enthralled, but he's been the star.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan Young has been quite a show as well in the first half. You mentioned 12 points, 6 rebounds, a perfect 5 for 5 from the field in only 11 minutes coming off the bench. Part of the reason why the Blue Devils have a plus 25-point advantage, 28-3 in bench points in this game.
Ouch. And Duke sharing the sugar, as they say, very well with 11 assists on 15 field goals made, and had that little 7-0 run inside the last 2 minutes to open it up. So they're looking very comfortable right now.
They are, and for the record, sharing the sugar doesn't sound as sweet when they say it in comparison to when you say it, my friend.
Just pour it on. Pour it on. Well, we'll see if the Seminoles can find another hot hand aside from Darren Green. He can't do it all by himself. For Leonard Hamilton, they have the Rock beginning the second 20.
But they haven't been able to get Matthew Cleveland going, and of course that's by design by the Blue Devils. He was priority number 1 on the scouting report.
Has the ball now, number 35, back off to Mills. Had a good first half. He's going to be held up by Roach, who commits the personal inside the opening seconds of the second half. And number 1 on the captain, who was named the preseason All-ACC first team.
And Jeremy Roach playing with a toe injury. Missed the Maryland Eastern Shore game. Came back with Wake Forest. Had 5 turnovers in that game. Not himself right now, but playing through it.
that? Worley going over the top and down it went.
Yeah, I thought it was a lob, honestly.
I did too.
But from our angle, it definitely looked like a lob, but I'm sure Worley would absolutely love to have that bucket.
Jalen Worley, 6'6" sophomore. His dad's godfather, Wilt Chamberlain.
Wow.
Stan Jones told me that, the outstanding coach for FSU. He has some great stuff.
So Worley attacking the paint. That was a lob.
It was a lob.
Our angle up here didn't lie to us. That was a lob. Worley just threw it in the basket.
Filipowski downstairs for 2.
And that's his first bucket of the game. Yes. But you know, one thing I like about it, he hasn't forced the action. Even though he's the leading scorer coming in averaging close to 15 points per game, he didn't force anything, played great basketball, and did a job defensively as well. He continues to slide his feet.
Mills running right into Filipowski, who will get hit with a personal. 44-27 Duke. FSU again coming in with 10 losses already after that terrible start, although lately playing better. It's one thing to be playing better, but then trying to come in to face a top 20 team in the Duke Blue Devils on their home floor, quite another.
But what we just saw in that last possession, in my opinion, has been the most impressive thing about Kyle Filipowski this season. Even though he started off with 4 straight double-doubles, doing things that no Duke player has ever done before, the way that he's competing on the defensive end of the floor, switching pick and rolls and staying in front of guards, even though he got a foul in that possession, I like the way Jon Scheyer is challenging his team to become better defenders individually, each and every one of his guys.
They have played really good defense this season. Lost a few games early, of course. That grueling schedule we talked about, I think top 11 in the month of November. But they have played tight D all year, averaging 60 points per game, holding their opponents to 60 a game. Lakes with a kick. Roach to the lane, and he'll get hit with 18-16 to go in the second half. To 60.4 a game, the opponent's scoring average.
Yeah, and you look at the held 12 to 13 opponents below their season average. And again, we've grown accustomed to watching Duke play in games being a track meet because they have such offensive talent throughout the past few years that they're just going to run up and down the floor and just outscore teams. But what we've seen from this year's edition is simply been about we're going to stop you from scoring. Whether you're shooting the basketball well or not, they can still be in games simply because they're doing a job defensively.
Mills with the foul. And Roach nails that one. Here on Coach K court. Jon Scheyer following on the heels of the GOAT.
Having to be the man that replaces the man. Not an enviable position.
Pull up will hit nothing for Green. He's actually shot the ball very well all season long. But serenaded there. Filipowski will hit the bench for a moment.
And the teaching moment between Coach Scheyer and Filipowski, that is a defensive breakdown. That's what you're talking about right there. I doubt very seriously that there's anything that Jon Scheyer has to complain about or even to correct right now with Kyle Filipowski on the offensive end of the floor. But I love the way his best player is being coached up.
Oh, that's a pretty play. Blake's just kind of baiting the defense, and into that left hand. He's had a really nice afternoon.
He really has, and I love his aggressiveness. He knows that his team has needed him to put points on the board, and he has done absolutely that.
He has 13 in his first career start. On the cut, inside, and Lively will get hit with a personal foul. He didn't think so, as he went up for the block.
But I love the call. It's the right call. My God, Lee Cassell right on top of it, simply because, and of course, Lee Cassell motions to the bench. The arms come down. Even though he does go up vertically, watch the arms come down to attempt to block the shot, making contact.
Yep.
It may not be the most popular call in this building, but it is the right call.
Certainly was not, but appeared to be accurate. It's his third foul. Lively now 23 block shots on the year, the freshman from Philadelphia. McDonald's All-American, one of 88 that Duke has signed over the years. I mean, Coach K really cornered the market, didn't he?
He absolutely did, and Jon Scheyer kind of taking over in that same role. And this is Sean Shires' recruiting class. The guys on the floor right now, one of the things that Coach K did 2 summers ago simply said, I'm not going to coach these guys, so I'm not going to recruit them. John Shire and his staff did just that and brought in the #1 recruiting class in the country.
Blake's a little wild on that attempt. Here's Mills with a difficult angle to bank that in. Very creative.
And Mills has been successful with his opportunities going to the basket today. Has to find a way to be a little more aggressive on the offensive end of the floor.
And a whistle with exactly 17 minutes to play. Can FSU make a run here? Mills last 4 games averaging about 15 points per game. Distributing the ball well. He'll pick up the foul though, and that'll be his 3rd. So keep an eye on that. 6'5" junior from Arden, North Carolina.
And this is where the depth comes in for Florida State. Normally in this scenario, Leonard Hamilton would have another guy that he could go to. But with the lack of depth that the Noles are dealing with right now, you find Mills having to stay on the floor. And of course, with switching, now he's got to guard a guy like Ryan Young and keep him off the offensive glass.
Mitchell thought about a 3. Here's Blake's. He will take the 3. Rebound snatched by Cleveland. I've never seen a college basketball team beaten up quite like FSU was last year. They run a nice one here for Gordon, and he will lay that one in.
Yeah, you remember that's a Florida State team that started out ACC play last year at 6-1. And then the injury bug continued to hit them over and over again. It was a downward struggle from there.
Mitchell swings for Blakes. Shot clock a factor now, down to 4. And that one is going to be bounced out of play, thrown away by the Blue Devils. So FSU showing a little bit of life here.
And this is what we've seen from Florida State, especially throughout the last 6 games. It started when they, lost to Purdue in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, but competed all the way to the end with the #1 team in the country. Then went to Virginia, same thing there, competed with a top 5 team, and they picked up some confidence then.
Foul here on Whitehead, trying to slow down Caleb Mills. And that will stop the clock at 15:50 to go. Duke on top 47-35, but it's a 6-0 run for the Noles. Well, just as we went to break, technicals on Whitehead and Cleveland, they kind of got in each other's grills.
They absolutely did. You see, walking off the floor, Dariq Whitehead wanting the call, recognizing that it was an offensive foul. Matthew Cleveland going to this bench, making contact, and the two just having a little short conversation as the officials come over. Our guy Jeffrey Anderson making sure that he distributes out his technical fouls equally. Both player gets one.
Yep, so those will offset.
Now, and you have to remember, Dariq Whitehead, one of his final schools was Florida State. So Dariq, I'm sure, was probably hosted by Matthew Cleveland on his official visit a year or 2 years ago. And I can tell you that it was Leonard Hamilton who told me he felt like Dariq was going to Duke before anyone else. He told me that was the lead.
There's with a missing close. Whitehead cradling the rebound. Duke has gone a little bit chilly here in the last couple of minutes.
And this is what Florida State has done, especially, as of late. They just found their way to chisel back in the games in the second half.
Young fouled on the floor, so not in the act of shooting. As he was shoved, and Duke will inbound from the baseline. Young had an outstanding first half with 12. Proctor gets it in. Back for Roach. Mitchell trying to slice his way inside and draws the foul. And they'll get Cleveland for that one. Matthew Cleveland, a sophomore from Atlanta, who always wears his right sock inside out in every single game. As you were telling me earlier, it's because it goes back to his baseball days.
Goes back to his baseball days, so he has, baseball superstition. And, of course, you of all people know how
crazy.
Superstitious.
You were going superstitious. I was saying nutty the baseball guys are.
But at the same time, has to listen to Taylor Swift and eat fruit pregame. That's his ritual. Needs 15 minutes of Matthew Cleveland time, as he likes to refer to it.
Matthew Cleveland time. 48-35. Jackson up top, the freshman. Cleveland stumbled a bit, almost gave it away. Shot clock down to 7. Jackson will feed Cleveland. A tough shot made tougher by Mitchell, who really defended well there on the baseline. They're making life very tough on Matthew Cleveland.
They absolutely are, and you've got to consider, I mean, he's the guy that's coming in, putting up the numbers. We talked about over 17 points and 11 rebounds in his last 3 games, and he has been priority number 1 for the Blue Devils on the scouting report.
Shot clock winding down, and a heave will go out. Shot clock violation. Duke has done that a couple of times to the Noles today.
In all 35. Although it's not the students, the Cameron Crazies in somewhat sync. Not as in sync as we would find with the Cameron Crazies, but we've got to give it to, we'll say, the other Cameron Crazies coming in and doing the job here.
You said the veteran crew. Oh, yeah. Young rolling, and will lay it in. They run the play for him, and he gets another basket. And now up to 14 points.
A nice play by Whitehead, being the playmaker on that pick and roll and putting it right where his teammate could benefit.
Jackson can't penetrate. Cleveland will draw the foul again. This will go against Jeremy Roach. Duke running a pick and roll beautifully.
Dariq Whitehead coming over, and you know, a great job there by Ryan Young, not sticking with that screen and picking up a foul, more of a slip. And Whitehead with a nice pass and the finish from Young.
And Roach with foul number 2 a moment ago. 14 minutes to go. Still time for the Seminoles. Worley again is going to be held up, and suddenly a lot of whistles, a lot of reaching, plenty of fouls starting to mount up here at Cameron Indoor.
But give Florida State credit. These fouls are mounting up because the Noles are putting it in drive. They're not settling. They're trying to find their way to get to the basket. We've seen Worley doing it. We've seen Mills attacking the basket. So they're basically trying to find a way to put the pressure on Duke's defense and the officials to make those calls.
Proctor with the foul to put Worley at the line, and he's all band-aided up on the chin after taking a shot early in the game, and there were several of those. He was pretty physical. Blake's beyond the 3. Young really calling for the ball. Blake's will swoop in. Almost got it to go. He'll be at the line.
But Blake's taking a page out of the Florida State playbook and driving, getting downhill, attacking the basket, getting to the free throw line. Love the way Jalen Blakes has been aggressive in this game to start it off and here in this second half.
Number 3 on Matthew Cleveland. So keep an eye on that. And Duke at the line. Blake's makes 67%. Duke's next game is over on ACC Network, and it's the first of 2023. They'll be in Raleigh Wednesday night to take on NC State. Coverage of that one begins at 7 Eastern. 1 of 2 for Blake's. Well, Duke was up 17 at halftime, leading 16 here. Lean in, nice bank shot there by Cleveland for 2.
And once again, trying to get downhill, get into that painted area. This time Matthew Cleveland able to find some success, which has been very rare in this game.
And as you mentioned earlier, he has 3 consecutive double-doubles. Here's Whitehead. Boy, that was in the cylinder. He's not shot that well at all. Only 6 for 24 coming in from three-point land, but that looked pretty good coming off his hand.
It really did.
And another whistle. The shot won't go by Worley.
But you can see the point of emphasis for Leonard Hamilton, you know, to his team, especially in the second half, is get downhill. Right now, they are attacking the painted area. Of course, they will shoot the 3 when it's off of a drive and kick. But right now, he wants them trying to find a way to get to that rim or get to the free throw line.
All the fouls both teams will be shooting the rest of the way, and that's with 13 minutes to go. They are both, as we mentioned, good foul shooting teams. Duke, in fact, is exceptional at 78%, and FSU 73%. Leonard, I think, entertaining Jeffrey Anderson on the sideline.
Just talking about New Year's Eve plans.
Leonard said, I'm a really boring guy, you know. I don't have a boat. I don't play golf. I'm very dull.
But he does own his own gospel music. You know, I won't call it a studio. He basically is a producer and owns his own label, so he knows a little bit about a way to spend his off time.
Did not know that. Another foul. This one in the paint will go against FSU off the ball. They're really tightening up here, the officiating crew on these calls. The foul on Cornish is third.
But a lot of that happens after the double technical foul. When you see tension start to raise on the floor, now the officials have to call it a little tighter to make sure the game doesn't get out of hand.
It's a great point. After the double T, Whitehead off the fake, steps back for a triple. He nailed it. Bottoms on that one.
Now, if he's doing that, this Duke team goes to a completely different level. Right now, they don't necessarily have a guy that can really go create their own bucket, but Dariq Whitehead showing that he might be the one.
No basket there. Another personal foul. 12 minutes to play, and Duke has opened up a very comfortable 54-38 advantage. Grandison will step off, the graduate from Illinois. And it'll be Mills back to the line, where he's really good, 83%.
Florida State's all-time career free throw percentage leader.
A transfer from Houston, who was the 2020 preseason player of the year in the American Athletic Conference. So FSU knew they were getting a really good player in Caleb Mills. He had 21 points against Florida earlier this season. 2, by the way, on Grandison. And another one coming from Mills.
We got a little more of a mix-up involving Matthew Cleveland. Cleveland, of course, with one technical foul, has to be very careful.
So second foul shot on the way for Mills, the guard, a native of North Carolina. And he rolls it in. Tom House, another freshman, big-time shooter in high school, big-time scorer, hails from an accomplished athletic family. Both his parents were coaches, are coaches. 14-point lead here for Duke and the ball. Proctor going in hard, draws the foul. And that's going to be 2 for him.
Dariq Whitehead continuing to improve as a college basketball player, starting to find his way. The step back 3. Good.
Get ready for action. Up in the mix.
Now Duke has had a big bench today, and it's been a major reason they lead by 14 here against FSU.
Maybe I should grow my beard back and do this, Obi. What do you think?
Or maybe not.
Okay, or maybe not. I'm sure my wife would agree.
Yes,
with
I think she would.
As does our guy Freddie Kiger, saying, no, that's not your route, Corey. That's not for you.
This looks great on this gentleman.
Okay.
Okay, that's a great look for him.
Yeah, my Uncle Reggie told me not everything is for everybody. So what you're saying is that's not the look for me.
We'll leave that right there. 11:58 remaining here, and Duke at the foul line. Blue Devils looking to go to 11-3 on the year, trying to bounce back from a loss to Wake Forest as the ACC is really starting to get cranked up. A tough loss for North Carolina yesterday.
Yes, Pittsburgh playing very good basketball. Jeff Capel, of course, Duke alum, has his team playing very good basketball, especially at home in the Peterson Event Center.
Yeah, which is, you know, in the past been one of the toughest places to win. Not in recent years for an opponent, but maybe they're bringing that back. Over the top, and it's Cleveland for 2.
Nice execution, nice design coming out of the timeout by Leonard Hamilton and his staff to get the bucket. And again, it's still a 14-point game, but you feel like Florida State's been able to find something.
Filipowski going in strong for 2 points. And it's been a pretty quiet day for Kyle Filipowski so far. Just 4 points, but you mentioned earlier he's been unselfish. He hasn't forced it. Green steps back and drains it. That'll be a 2-pointer.
And it's been feast or famine with Green. It's either air ball or bottom of the net. There's nothing in between for him in this game.
There's 11. Rhodes to take his time here. He led Duke to last year's Final Four as the starting point guard, directing traffic. Trying to get by House. Now rebound tip to FSU. Here they come. Worley gets it off for Green and a quick strike. That didn't take long. He has 13.
Filipowski with the 3 fouls. Did not want to foul on that possession. Conceded the layup.
Roach cross court. Whitehead baseline. Followed up by Filipowski for 2.
And we see now Kyle Filipowski starting to flex his muscle, especially on the interior offensive rebound.
Green doesn't need much of a look, does he? Just a tiny window, and he can knock it down.
But I love the confidence. He's shot a couple air balls in this game, hasn't been deterred at all, still stepping up, knocking down threes from 25 feet.
And a guy the ACC is going to find out about, timeout here, transfer from UCF. Had 30 against St. John's. He was 8 out of 11 from three-point land in that one. He's one of the best shooters in the league. Well, 10 minutes to go, and Darren Green has been sizzling for FSU.
And Darren Green's range knows no bounds. The ability to step up and shoot it from anywhere on the floor, but can also play off the bounce, creating shots for himself, getting to the mid-range. He can score at all levels, but he seems to like to level from far beyond three-point line.
Like that logo level out there. 16, 7 out of 13. As you said, a couple of air balls in there, but great shooters, they have to have amnesia.
Absolutely. He doesn't remember those air balls, even though the seasoned Cameron Craties will remind him when he touches the basketball every so often.
So Duke with it under 10 to go. Not been able to shake the Noles completely. Filipowski asking for outside the lane. The pass was tipped. Does get to Blakes. Shot clock to 2. Here's Mitchell airborne. And out. Rebound up and in by the hard-working Young. And, you know, he works so hard on the offensive glass, and it pays off for him.
He absolutely does once again. And Ryan Young does a great job of getting inside positioning when the shot goes up. It's almost as he's trying to come up with a defensive rebound.
16 points for him. Cleveland draws the foul. Did get the shot in the air. Blake's reaching in. And Matthew Cleveland goes to the line. Cleveland's a guy, you talk about hard work. He's become a much better shooter this year. The knock against him last year was, don't let him take a 3 if you're a Seminole, because he's not going to hit the shot. He came into the game with 42% from three-point land. It's a giant improvement, not a ton of attempts, but he worked very diligently. He said 3 times a day, every day during the offseason, he shot the basketball. He just shot the lights out.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why he's already made as many three-pointers thus far early in the season as he did all season. That number is 6. He made 6 last year, and he's made 6 already on this season with, of course, an entire ACC play to go. So when you think about Matthew Cleveland, he's put in the work, and oftentimes now you're getting to see him reap the benefits of it.
The whistle here. By the way, Filipowski has 4 fouls for the Blue Devils. So we keep an eye on that with a lot of time to go, 9-11. And it'll be Young to the line. That's the reason he is on the bench. And it tightens up a little bit here, 62-51 Duke.
And one of the things we're seeing from Leonard Hamilton this season is he's actually sizing down at times to match up better with the opponents. Of course, you've been covering Leonard Hamilton for a very long time, even longer than I have, and we don't see this often from him where he goes to a smaller lineup getting Naheem McLeod back onto the floor, but still one big with 4 guards on the floor for the Noles.
Young makes the pair. 18 points for Ryan Young, who averages 7 and 7 rebounds. Entry pass from McLeod. A 7-footer gets 2.
That's what you call a great sub.
Yes. It works like that. Mitchell retaining possession and tied up. And that's going to be a possession arrow on some great defense by FSU. Mitchell thought he had a foul, but that will not be the case. Duke will have the arrow. They will have the ball.
Great hustle by Chandler Jackson getting back into the play. He did have a lot of arm on that possession. So the Blue Devil faithful have a point.
Mitchell lines up a 3. He knocks it down.
Part of the reason why we say he needs more shots, more attempts from beyond the three-point arc when he's shooting that great of a percentage.
That's 46% on the drive, up and in by Jackson. And FSU continues to hang in the game with a little over 8 minutes to go.
Haven't really been able to get it into single digits, but you feel like they've been able to find some success. Now Florida State has to find a way to get some stops on this end of the floor, especially with Filipowski sitting down with those 4 fouls.
Blakes kicks it out. Whitehead off the front iron. And it's kicked free to Cleveland. He finds Green, but he overshot him at the pass.
Missed opportunity by Florida State. Maybe easier to go to Mills, who had a lane to the bucket. The college football.
Our game summary, FSU just missed a golden chance to make this a 10-point game, but the bench has been dynamic for Duke with 39 bench points. That's a season high.
They absolutely have. Ryan Young has been spectacular off the bench, but Florida State has made 7 of its last 7 field goal attempts. The thing that's hurt them, turnovers, specifically that last possession, not getting that layup, which could have made it a 10-point game and put a little bit more pressure on the Blue Devils.
Both teams have been shooting it well here in the second half. Duke 50%, FSU 71%. 7 for 7 helps that. So it's Duke by 12. Here's Mitchell. Spinning to the basket. In the paint. Boy, did he want to shoot that shot? Then the second he touched it, he was going to shoot it.
And by design, Jon Scheyer wants to make sure he gets the basketball into Mitchell's hands and allows him to play one-on-one in the middle of the floor, and it works out for the Blue Devils.
He has 6, feels like more than that for Mitchell. Green turns to fire off the front iron. Rebound batting around, and Duke has it again. Approaching the 7-minute mark here at Cameron Indoor. Sold out, of course. Mitchell again. This time bottled up. And the possession arrow belongs to the Seminoles.
And that's the second time Jackson has come over and made a play on the basketball to tie up Mitchell. This time, the Noles get the basketball back. And this is one where you see the defender starting to help and leave. You've got to deliver that to the corner. As well as Blakes is shooting the basketball, he's got to get that one. Give him opportunity to knock down that 3 ball.
Leonard Hamilton looking for a come-from-behind win at Duke. A win would be his 400th at FSU, 600th as a head coach. Many years ago had some wins taken away, I think 22. So he might feel like, well, I've already been there. Over the top, and the foul will go on Young, undercutting Naheem McLeod, the 7'4" junior. That'll be number 2 on Young.
Young trying to talk to Doug Shows, letting him know that he was an innocent bystander on that play, that it was McLeod creating the contact.
And McLeod just back after missing several weeks with an Achilles injury. Really scuffles at the line, 39%. Look good on that one. And to college football semifinals coming up on ESPN. ESPN Deportes and the ESPN app. Number 2 Michigan and number 3 TCU. And number 1 Georgia and number 4 Ohio State in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Winners playing on Monday, January 9th on ESPN.
And I can appreciate ESPN putting Georgia on second to give you time to get back home to be able to watch it.
As do I. Big dog fans in my dogs, I should say. Blake's trying to negotiate. Mitchell goes to the hoop for 2. And 71-56, the Blue Devils. Worley down underneath. Here's Mills. That clangs away. And it'll go back to Duke.
Ryan Young doing a great job, not only when he has the basketball in his hands, but when it's away from him. That time sealing off 2 players, allowing Blakes to be able to turn the corner and play 2-on-1 basketball for Mitchell, who gets the easy bucket.
Filipowski's been sitting for a long time with 4 fouls. Duke has found other answers in this one.
Ryan Young has been the answer to every question for the Blue Devils throughout this game, but Mark Mitchell's been a guy here in the second half starting to take over a bit.
4 to shoot. Roach going in for the lay-in. Can't get it to go, but Young is going to be fouled again with 5.5 showing on the clock. Young with a double-double, the 2nd of his season and the 5th of his career.
I love the way that he goes after offensive rebounds. When the shot goes up, and he's really anticipating it well before the shot goes up, starting to get inside position as the ball is working its way around the perimeter. And when the shot goes up, he just happens to be the guy on the inside coming up with the board.
Graduate of Northwestern. We played for former Blue Devil Chris Collins. 86% foul shooter.
CC says
20 points for Young. Cleveland trying to get inside. They shut him down again. They're going to make a move on the leaner. No.
With the Blue Devils credit, defensively they have made life tough for Matthew Cleveland this entire game. No good looks for Cleveland this entire afternoon.
Really fighting player, candidate for the Julius Erving Small Forward of the Year honor. Here's Blakes. Yes! Oh, and that one hurt the Seminoles. That triple from the corner gets it up to 20 again.
And a nice find from Dariq Whitehead, the skip pass, recognizing the help on Young inside.
Mills jumping inside, trying to draw contact. It won't fall. Maybe some frustration there, trying to slow down Roach. He commits the foul. 4.5 to go, and Duke in a really nice spot. That's number 4 on Mills.
OB, you and I both know that Florida State is 6th Man of the Year university. However, there may be a Blue Devil etching his name on the trophy. A strong performance by Ryan Young coming off the bench, which he's done the majority of this season. And he may get into that conversation even more so as this season goes along.
FSU typically locks that award down like 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
But maybe not this year. Duke up 78-56. Duke, by the way, 13-3 all-time on New Year's Eve, and knocked away. Another theft. Well, the turnovers have been a big part of the story for FSU, right?
It really has been a great job by Blakes there, getting a hand, even though it's tight quarters, fighting around to come away with that steal and deflection.
It's 12 turnovers for the Seminoles. Feels like a lot more than that. They come in critical situations. Here's Roach. Yes, a three-pointer. And now Duke is really laying it on.
Well, and the reason why it feels like more turnovers is because Duke continues to capitalize on each and every one of those turnovers.
Duke on a 12-0 run. Worley with a little floater in and out. And Duke running away with this one here late in the second half on top 81-56.
We go back to the possession where Florida State Matthew Cleveland gets a rebound. He's got two guys ahead, throws it away, ends up being a turnover in a possession where they could have cut it to 10. And just like that, lost momentum as they have been playing great through that stretch.
Whitehead's triple short. Foul here against Duke with 3:10 to play.
Duke has a bunch of offensive stars, a bunch of big names. I'm not sure anyone would have said Jalen Blakes to start the season, but they know his name now.
First career start, 17 points.
Matching his career high, 17 points, and also 4 for 6 from beyond the three-point arc. But driving to the basket, making plays, not only for himself, but his teammates as well. 2 assists for Blakes in this game, but he has been a flamethrower from beyond the arc. Big buckets with Jalen Blakes in the first half and the second half as well, as he plays the guitar clearly with the shoulder strap because he's not using the left hand at all.
No, kind of like that move and the move by Jon Scheyer to start him. Very smart play there.
I agree. And, you know, talking with Jon Scheyer pregame, one of the things that he talked about was he's been in every role as Ryan Young gets a huge ovation checking out the game with 3:10 remaining with his 20 points.
Yeah, and how about his line, by the way? 20 points. He made every shot that he took, 7 for 7. Made every foul shot that he took, 6 for 6. He had 12 rebounds.
So you would call this the perfect afternoon for Mr. Young.
I think he pitched a perfecto today.
Ooh, I like it. I like it.
Not too shabby. So in the end, Duke had all the answers. The Seminoles a couple of times had an opportunity to really close the gap, make him nervous. Cleveland on the spin, the scoop, no, and that was going to be goaltending. It was on the cylinder. 81-58.
Yeah, Florida State had their opportunities, just unable to take advantage of them, especially the important ones.
Cleveland will swing it for Green, and it's off his hands, and right back over to the Blue Devils.
And another turnover, now the 13th turnover for the Seminoles. And we have to mention a small margin for error with this Florida State team. They won at home against Notre Dame, a 1-point victory, only turned it over 5 times. So that's how small the error, the margin of error is for Florida State right now.
So even without the regular undergrad section, was world-renowned here at Duke. Big crowd on hand. It's another sellout here at Cameron Indoor, supporting the Blue Devils very well. Made the shot and will go to the line with 2.5 to play. 17 points for Caleb Mills, and what will be a losing effort here today. Coming up 18 against Notre Dame, the transfer from Houston. Jeremy Roach getting a nice hand as he heads to the bench for the duration.
One of the things you see for Florida State right now, Matthew Cleveland 35 minutes, Darren Green 36 minutes, Caleb Mills 33 minutes. This is not Florida State's style. Leonard Hamilton does not want to play guys more than 24 minutes. He needs to have those guys off the bench to be able to come in and have that production. They just don't have a roster built for that right now, which is part of the reason why you've seen the struggles that we've seen from the Seminoles.
Tyrese Proctor, freshman from Sydney, Australia. Blakes, did he add to his total? Knifing through. Whitehead, strong move for 2 more. And a good scoring day for the Blue Devils.
Now, Obi, I normally like to throw out a trivia question, but this one is extremely difficult. But I'm going to make it to America, not necessarily just you. Right? There were 3 Australian-born players to play for the Duke Blue Devils. I'll give you, you already mentioned Proctor and Jack White, recent. Can you have a guess? I want to know if Freddie knows this one. Is there a guess at the 3rd one?
Pretty Freddie Kiger, our stats magician, is going to come up with an answer here. I think he's actually got it.
You think he's got it?
Well,
is he writing it down on a piece of paper to give to you?
Might reveal that to America. Minute and 42 to play here. 83-63. The Blue Devils with the game in hand. NC State on January 4th, the next game inside the conference. Green distributes to Cleveland, went for the slam and a foul.
I can appreciate the effort there by Matthew Cleveland. And the fact that Florida State, regardless of being down 20, going to continue to compete throughout this game. Getting out in transition, Cleveland trying to find the highlight on Proctor, who's inside that restricted area.
So Freddie has, I think, an answer for you. Corey's trivia time.
Let's tell America what Freddie's answer is.
Freddie's answer is Kyrie Irving.
And that would be correct.
I knew Freddie would get it.
Oh, God, I knew Freddie would get it too. Very few people would guess that, though. Kyrie Irving, of course, New Jersey legend, was born in Australia. So he is one of the 3 Australian-born players to play for the Blue Devils.
I like the question. And I think the next time you and I work, which will be on Tuesday at Louisville, you'll have another one for us. It'll be a regular part of our broadcast. And a foul with 1:04 to go. Actually, no foul there, just out. 83-65 Duke. And really laying it on about 7 or 8 minutes ago and breaking away, running and hiding here from the Seminoles.
And Duke had that signature run at the end of the first half that really created that separation. Florida State unable to really cut into that at any point here at the second half.
Whitehead's triple. Crowd loved that. And really, that's something that had been missing a little bit from this Duke team, that ability to really break away, which was a patented thing under Coach K. Here's Cleveland's shot. That'll rattle off the iron. But today they did it. It felt very Duke-like.
Well, they found some shooting. Jalen Blakes, Dariq Whitehead, both these guys have stepped up, knocked down shots. Filipowski didn't have a big offensive output, but Ryan Young took up the slack for everyone in a Blue Devil uniform. 20 points, 12 boards for Young, who has to be today's player of the game.
No trouble. Blue Devils scoring a ton of points today. Cleveland ahead of the field will slam that down. Which may be the last basket we see here this afternoon at Cameron Indoor as Duke rolls to a big victory over Florida State. Their final score today, 86-67. And John Shire felt his team was starting to get things going in a very positive direction. They showed it today.
I believe so. I believe this was a step in the right direction for the Blue Devils. Really a regression for Florida State, who've been playing much better basketball leading up to this point. But Leonard Hamilton's team always much more dangerous when they're at home in the Donald L. Tucker Center.
That'll be the start of a happy new year for the Duke Blue Devils as they win it 86-67. The bench was just outstanding for Duke. And of course, a big part of that was the play of Ryan Young, the 6'10 grad, and a transfer from Northwestern. For Corey Alexander, I'm Dave O'Brien. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a safe and very happy new year, everybody.